The arrival of the Eternals has been widely awaited since the announcement of their own solo project, and it's been widely expected that the Eternals will answer a few lingering plot threads from the MCU's past. Namely, where have they been all this time? And why did they not interfere on Thanos' quest to collect the Infinity Stones? But what if their involvement in human affairs is actually far deeper than we previously thought? Stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as today we'll be exploring the popular fan theory that the Eternals not only utilized the same eldritch magic as the Sorcerers of Earth, but may have actually played a part in the foundation of the Sanctums of Sorcery and the Temple of tmarvelouswave itself. It has been widely noticed that many of the solid-like constructs that we see throughout the Eternals trailer closely resemble those of the Sorcerers of Earth, with Phastos and Thena specifically creating complex shapes and objects out of intricate strings of solid light. One particular structure used by Angelina Jolie's Thena seems to resemble a solid light sword, much like the same constructs that are responsible for the shields that the Sorcerers cast, or even the sword that Doctor Strange used against Thanos during the battle on Titan in Avengers Infinity War. It's also an interesting detail that certain Eternals such as Sprite have a particular affinity for illusion casting, which is also a skill we see widely utilized by various sorcerers in the MCU. With the Eternals being as old as they are, is it possible that they didn't just utilize the same type of energy manipulation, but in fact introduced the earthly humans that would later become the first sorcerers to the manipulation of interdimensional energies? This popular fan theory proposes that the founders of tmarvelouswave and the first Sorcerer Supreme was actually an Eternal, and that the Eternals founded the Sanctum. Eternals that sought to arm the humans with the ability to protect Earth in their absence, and specifically their most prized possession, the Time Stone. If the Eternals were in possession of the Time Stone when they arrived on Earth, then it stands to reason that they would be highly knowledgeable of its capabilities and destructive potential, as well as how to use it, and would seek to protect it at all costs. After all, the Eternals were created by the Celestials, who have a reputation for using the stones rather destructively. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, we see the Celestial known as Isan the Searcher using the Power Stone to decimate an entire planet. This theory proposes that the Eternals were the authors of some of the oldest books in the libraries of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the teachers of some of the earliest practitioners of the mystic arts, teaching humans how to utilize eternal powers based on the manipulation of interdimensional energies, with the express purpose of protecting the Time Stone and the Earth from any threat, be it the looming threat of the returning Celestials or other interdimensional foes such as Dormammu. The Eternals could have taught the humans spells, mystic powers, and the stories of the Infinity Stones, as well as how to use them, in order to prepare them for the inevitable day when the sorcerers would be called upon to protect the Earth in a time of crisis. While it's highly likely that the Eternals were preparing the humans for the fateful day when the Celestials would return, these practices would prove powerful enough to ward off other intergalactic and interdimensional enemies that would threaten the Earth and the protection of the Time Stone. One theory that we've proposed on this channel is that the Eternals actually were the first to assemble the Infinity Stones, and did so with the purpose of defeating and overthrowing the Celestials. According to this theory, they left the Soul Stone on Vormir deliberately, under the watch of the Eternal who would become the first guardian of the Soul Stone, a mantle that would later be passed on to the Red Skull. If this is the case, and the Eternals were the ones to divide the stones, they may have similarly taken the Time Stone to Earth, and taught their descendants, the humans, how to properly protect it under the guise of the first sorcerers. Is it possible that much like the theory that an Eternal was the first guardian of the Soul Stone, an Eternal was also the first guardian of the Time Stone? Only in this particular instance, they took on the title and appearance of a sorcerer among humans, and used the mystic arts to protect their most prized and most dangerous possession. Wong states that they are sworn to protect the Time Stone with their lives, though it is never explicitly stated why, beyond the simple implication that the Time Stone is incredibly powerful and needs to be left under the protection of some of Earth's greatest defenders. Could it be because the first Sorcerer Supreme was actually an Eternal who left the stone in the hands of his or her most capable students before going into hiding and proceeding so famously to not interfere? Perhaps the Eternal Circe, who was an avid practitioner of the mystic arts and known multiversal voyager, helped to found the Temple of tmarvelouswave, for example, or possibly even Thena, who is quite prominently shown wielding eldritch magic. This could also lend credence to another one of our previous theories, proposing that the Eternals were actually multiversal refugees who fought in the first multiversal war. If this theory proves to be true, then this could explain how the Eternals, and thus the Sorcerers, are capable and knowledgeable of drawing energy from different dimensions. It would also mean that the Eternals were not only preparing the Earth for the imminent arrival of the Celestials, but they were readying the Earth to be invaded by the various kings of the multiverse. For more on this theory, check out our video on why the Eternals never interfered for more context. As a brief summary though, the theory that they were multiversal refugees touches on the idea that they saw the calamity of the first multiversal war and the destruction that the kings could cause, and proceeded to steer humanity onto the sacred timeline in order to protect them. It also suggests that the reason they didn't interfere was due to the fear of creating Nexus events. But again, for more on this theory, check out our previous video. If this theory is true, at least to some degree, then perhaps the Sorcerers were designed to be Earth's defending force against the likes of the Celestials and the various kings that would seek to conquer and control the timeline, should the multiverse ever be allowed to reopen. This could also be a major way that the Eternals connects to the larger Phase 4 Marvel Universe and fits into the puzzle of the story. If the Eternals are indeed practitioners of Eldritch magic and pass the skill onto the first humans, then is it possible that the practice of sorcery as we know it in the MCU is a direct descendant of the Eternals' legacy? But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Do you think the Eternals trained the Sorcerers to be a defense force for the planet? If so, then what exactly were they preparing the humans for? What threat did they foresee that was so great that they felt the need to train an entire practice of elite sorcerers and practitioners of the mystic arts over multiple generations to ward off Thanos, the Celestials, potentially even King himself? What are your thoughts on this? And do you think that the first ever Sorcerer Supreme could have been an Eternal? We would love to hear your thoughts on this theory in the comments down below. As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.